Welcome to Midnight Confessions, where the darkest secrets come alive when the world sleeps. It's past midnight, the witching hour when truth bleeds through the cracks of reality. Tonight, I bring you confessions that will chill your soul, testimonies from people who encountered forces beyond human understanding. Story 1. They say the devil appears when you're at your lowest point. I never believed those stories. Until that cursed night changed everything forever. Picture this, it's past midnight, and I'm sprawled in a filthy alley behind Murphy's Tavern, drowning in my own vomit and despair. My name is Nathan, and I just lost everything to my gambling addiction. The loan sharks were circling, my family had disowned me, and death seemed like my only escape from the suffocating debt crushing my soul. That's when he appeared. At first, I thought my alcohol-poisoned mind was hallucinating. A tall, impossibly thin figure emerged from the shadows like smoke given form. His eyes. God, those eyes. They glowed amber in the darkness, reflecting light that shouldn't exist. When he smiled, I swear I saw too many teeth, sharp, predatory, inhuman. Rough night, he whispered, his voice like silk wrapped around broken glass. This creature, and I used that word deliberately, claimed he wanted to help. But friends, let me tell you something about devils. They never help without extracting a price that will haunt your nightmares forever. His skin was paper white, stretched too tight over angular bones. His fingers were grotesquely long, ending in what looked suspiciously like claws. When he moved, it was wrong somehow, like watching a marionette controlled by an amateur puppeteer. "What's your name, lost soul?" he asked, tilting his head at an unnatural angle. "Nathan Wilson," I choked out, while burning my throat. His reaction was terrifying. This thing exploded with demonic glee, cackling like a hyena that had just discovered fresh carrion. "What a delicious name!" he shrieked, his voice echoing off the alley walls with supernatural resonance. The worst part? I could smell sulfur on his breath. He claimed he'd overheard my drunken confessions about owing $20,000 to dangerous people. But I never told him the exact amount. He already knew. Somehow, this nightmare creature knew details about my life that I'd never spoken aloud. "Best friends help each other," it hissed, producing a stack of bills from inside its coat, money that felt ice cold to the touch. $20,000. Exactly what I needed. To the penny. My desperate, alcohol-soaked brain screamed warnings, but desperation makes cowards of us all. I took that cursed money, and the moment it touched my palm, I felt something inside me change. Something fundamental and irreversible. The creature's smile widened impossibly, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth that belonged in a shark's mouth, not a human face. "What do you want in return?" I whispered, knowing I was already damned. It stroked its chin with those horrifically long fingers and spoke words that still freeze my blood. "Leave it with me. I'm sure I'll think of something appropriate." But before disappearing into the shadows like smoke, it handed me a folded paper. "A little something I prepared," it said, its voice now layering with harmonics that human vocal cords could never produce. Then it was gone. Vanished. Like it had never existed. For 10 years, I thought I'd escaped. I paid my debts, never gambled again, tried to live normally. But that paper, when I finally decoded what it contained, I realized the true horror of what I'd accepted. It was a list of dates, future dates, with cryptic predictions. Events that came true with terrifying accuracy. Natural disasters. Stock market crashes. Deaths of public figures. This wasn't a helpful stranger, viewers. This was something ancient, something evil, something that exists in the spaces between reality and nightmare. And I had made a deal with it. The worst part? I'm starting to understand what it meant by almost everything. Because recently, strange things have been happening. Shadows move wrong in my peripheral vision. Electronics malfunction around me. People I've never met know my name. And sometimes, late at night, I hear that familiar whistle echoing through my house, sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, but played in a minor key that makes my soul scream. If you ever find yourself broken and desperate in a dark alley, and a stranger offers salvation with amber eyes and too many teeth, run. Because some debts can never be repaid, and some bargains damn your soul for eternity. The devil is patient. The devil is clever. And the devil always collects what he's owed. What would you do if faced with an impossible choice? Let me know in the comments below, if you dare. But this wasn't just random fortune-telling. This was something far more sinister and terrifying than I could have ever imagined. The paper contained detailed instructions, precise down to the exact minute, hour, and second of when to be somewhere and what actions to take for maximum success. It was like having a roadmap to destiny written by something that shouldn't exist in our reality. The demon had left investment advice for companies that didn't even exist yet, but would manifest exactly when this creature predicted. It gave me exact directions on which property to purchase and how to negotiate the perfect price. Most disturbing of all, it told me exactly what to wear, which jobs to accept, and even which people to befriend. October 5, 2009, visit the coffee shop downtown, encounter Jessica O'Brien at precisely 1:17 p.m. 2 years later, Jessica O'Brien became Jessica Wilson, my wife. This hellish entity had orchestrated me meeting my soulmate down to the exact second our eyes would first lock. Can you imagine the horror of realizing your entire love story was scripted by something inhuman? I followed every demonic instruction like a puppet on strings. I invested in the right companies and sold at perfect moments, dodging financial disasters like I possessed supernatural foresight. My wealth exploded beyond my wildest dreams. June 8, 2011. Purchased the house at 10 Aspen Way, never rent, complete transaction at 6:14 and 43 seconds p.m. And like an obedient slave to this monster's will, I did exactly that. Jessica and I moved into that beautiful mansion after our honeymoon. We were rich, healthy, and madly in love. But something was still missing from our perfect life. The creature had accounted for that too. August 17, 2012. Conceived child with Jessica at 8:31 and 9 seconds p.m. Our daughter April was born exactly as this nightmare entity had planned. Even her name wasn't my choice, the demon chose it. She's 4 now, and I love her with every fiber of my being. But the terrifying truth haunts me. This creature I'd known for less than an hour had manipulated every aspect of my existence. Out of what I thought was kindness, it had saved me, saved all of us. Even though 10 years had passed since that cursed night, and I was completely intoxicated when it happened, I remembered every chilling detail with crystal clarity. That's why my blood turned to ice this morning, when I heard someone singing that haunting melody just feet behind me as I carried groceries home. The voice was unmistakable, dripping with supernatural joy rather than human emotion. Without hesitation, I spun around to face the source of that demonic song. The nightmare stood before me, unchanged by a single day in an entire decade. It wore the same pinstriped suit from that first hellish encounter. "Jesus Christ," I whispered, my face betraying a mixture of terror and fascination. "It's really you. The one and only darling," it replied with that bone-chilling laugh and theatrical gesture. "How's Jessica, by the way?" I opened my mouth to respond, but it raised one of those grotesquely long fingers to silence me. Sorry to materialize after goodness, has it truly been 10 years? Time has a way of slipping through my fingers like sand, the creature said with inhuman casualness. Anyway, I'm here because I've finally decided what I want from you. Your pardon. I managed to choke out, though dread was already crawling up my spine like 1,000 spiders. 10 years ago, you promised me anything, it replied, and I could swear I heard my own voice echoing in its words. I couldn't decide then, but I know now exactly what I desire. Of course, I said, my heart hammering against my ribs like a caged animal. What do you want? That same ear-to-ear grin spread across its face, the same predatory smile from behind the dive bar in 2007. I've contemplated this for ages, my friend, and I've reached my decision, it said, stepping closer until I could see those golden eyes burning with unholy fire. I know what I want from you, Nathan. The pause stretched like eternity before it spoke the words that would destroy my world. I want your name. I almost laughed at first, but the dead seriousness in those amber eyes killed any humor instantly. My name. I stammered. Yes, Nathan. I've always adored your name. It's absolutely perfect, it said, wringing its hands with demonic glee. You see, I've never possessed a name of my own, and it's left me feeling perpetually excluded from humanity. I've craved a name for so long, and I've decided that yours is exactly what I need. It will fit me like a glove. This monster had given me everything, saved me from casino enforcers who would have killed me, orchestrated every success I'd achieved. Who was I to refuse this seemingly innocent request? If it wanted to call itself Nathan Wilson too, what harm could that cause? Sure thing, buddy, I said with what I thought was a friendly smile. It leaned forward and embraced me, nearly crushing my groceries against my chest with inhuman strength. You have no comprehension of the joy you've brought me, it whispered in my ear. It's the least I can do after everything you've done for me, I replied, though something felt wrong about those words as they left my mouth. The creature extended one of its spider-like hands toward me. Let's make it official, it said, voice trembling with excitement. We shook hands, and I felt something cold pass between us, something that made my soul shiver. We parted ways after that. I walked home while it skipped into the city, singing and cackling with manic glee. I felt relieved that my debt was finally repaid with such a simple gesture. When I reached 10 Aspen Way, I saw April playing with her toy lawnmower in the front yard.
"Hey, sweetie." I called to her, but she didn't respond.
She was lost in her imaginary world of yard work. I went inside with the groceries. Jessica was in the kitchen chopping carrots while that same cursed song played on the radio. The universe seemed to be mocking me. "Hey babe," I called, setting the bags on the kitchen table. "You'll never guess who I ran into this morning." Jessica didn't respond. She just kept chopping vegetables and humming along to the music. "Babe? Everything okay?" I asked, worry creeping into my voice. Still nothing. With growing dread, I walked over and placed my hand on her shoulder. It passed straight through her like she was made of mist, like I was the ghost. I recoiled with a horrified scream and crashed into the kitchen table. Jessica showed no reaction whatsoever. "Honey, I'm home." A familiar voice called from the hallway, my voice, but not coming from me. Jessica suddenly came alive, turning toward the sound. "Hi sweetie," she said warmly. "You were gone for a while." I was starting to worry. The creature walked into the kitchen, wearing my face, my smile, my life like a perfectly fitted mask. "Sorry about that, honey bunny," it said in my exact voice. "I met an old friend in town. We had a little chat." As it spoke, the thing threw me a sickening wink with one of those yellow eyes. "Oh," Jessica said. "Anyone I know?" She leaned forward and kissed the monster, the same loving kiss she always gave me. "Nah," the creature chuckled. "I don't think you've ever met him." I felt my sanity cracking like glass under pressure. Nothing made sense anymore. The world had become a nightmare. "Daddy." April called from outside about something involving the grass. "Can you take over the carrots for a second, babe?" Jessica asked the imposter. "No problem, honey," it said, taking the knife and giving her another kiss that belonged to me. Jessica left the room, leaving me alone with the thing that had stolen my existence. I stood in stunned silence while it continued chopping vegetables, never looking up from the cutting board. What the hell is happening? I finally exploded when I found my voice. "What have you done, you psychotic freak?" It kept chopping, eyes fixed on its work. "My name is Nathan," the creature said calmly. "I'd appreciate if you used it." In my rage, I tried to grab it by the shoulders and force it to face me. I could touch it, but it wouldn't budge, like trying to move a mountain made of flesh. "That's my name. This is my house. That's my wife." I screamed, my voice cracking with fury and confusion. The monster chuckled softly. "That's where you're mistaken, stranger," it said. "Everything has changed ownership. This is Nathan Wilson's house. Jessica is Nathan Wilson's wife. This is Nathan Wilson's life. And according to our recent agreement, I am Nathan Wilson. You, dear friend, are nobody. I won't accept that." I bellowed, slamming my fist on the counter. Without warning, Nathan Wilson drove the knife straight through my hand. There was no pain, no blood. It passed through like I no longer existed in physical reality. "Word of advice, stranger," it said as I pulled my hand away in horror. "Reality moves forward whether you accept it or not. Everything you have, everything you convinced yourself you earned, came from my instructions. You never owned this life, stranger. You just rented it from me, piece by piece. Now it's mine, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it." It slammed the knife into the cutting board and turned to face me with my own stolen features. "Except, of course, leave and let me, my wife, and my daughter live our lives in peace. Do you understand, stranger?" I stood in crushing silence, the weight of my stupidity suffocating me. Can I see them again?" "Of course you can see them anytime you wish," it said with mock kindness. "But only I can see you, just like until an hour ago, only you could see me. It doesn't feel pleasant, does it? Being nobody. Being nameless." The full horror of my situation crashed over me like a tidal wave. I collapsed and began sobbing uncontrollably. "God, I was so incredibly stupid," I wailed. "How did I fall for this nightmare?" Nathan Wilson shrugged and ate a piece of carrot. "Don't blame yourself, buddy," it said. "I waited centuries before finding someone I could interact with. It's not your fault you happened to be that person, and that you had such a wonderful name to steal. But what do I do now?" I asked through my tears. "What I did, stranger," Nathan Wilson said, savoring another piece of carrot. "Search around. Find someone you can communicate with. Might happen this afternoon, who knows? Could be a week, month, year, decade, century. But I'm eternally optimistic.
A century?
I gasped, trying to stop the flood of tears. I can't wait that long. You'd be amazed, pal. Patience is something you'll learn while being nameless. When you finally manage to acquire a name for yourself, you'll appreciate it much more next time. You'll actually make something of yourself. Remember, if a deal seems too good to be true, it always is.
Is that it?
I asked desperately. Is that all the help you'll give me? Nathan Wilson nodded with my stolen face.
I'm afraid so, old friend, it said. But you seem decent enough.
I'm confident you'll figure something out. After all, you can always depend on the kindness of strangers. And with that, the creature that had stolen my entire existence turned back to preparing dinner for my family. The family that could no longer see me, touch me, or remember that I had ever existed at all.
Story 2.
You think you understand what darkness looks like? You haven't seen anything yet. As the demonic entity that had consumed my entire existence continued mutilating vegetables in my stolen kitchen, I realized my torment was just beginning. I fled that house of horrors, walking through the hallway, past the front door, leaving behind everything I had ever loved. I stole one final glance at Jessica and April, no, his family now, playing carelessly on the lawn, their faces bright with innocent joy. They would never know I had vanished from their world. Maybe that was mercy. I whispered a farewell they could never hear and squeezed my eyes shut, trying futilely to stop the tears that came anyway. I wandered into the city after that, walking alone in my search for something, anything to call myself. That was my story's end, the tale of a man stripped of his name. Perhaps the demon was right. Perhaps it had always been his life to live. Maybe he would cherish it more, love them better, become a superior father and husband. A better version of what I could never be. I don't cling to that name anymore. But if you're reading these words right now, that means something incredible. You can see what I've written. If you can read my words, maybe you can hear them too. And if you can hear them, perhaps you'll respond to me. I hope to connect with you soon. We have so much to discuss, you and I. So much to explore together. I believe I can accomplish remarkable things for you, dear reader, dear friend. I'll rescue you from any predicament you face, and I'll barely ask for anything in return. Barely anything at all.
Story 3.
During quarantine, my 4-year-old and I played hide-and-seek constantly, but with modified rules that made it perfect for exhausted parents. 1. I'm the only one who hides, he doesn't want to anyway. 2. I have to call out yoo-hoo every few minutes or he'd never find me. 3. When he gets close, I pop a hand or foot out of my hiding spot and he shrieks, "I see your feet." 4-year-olds aren't exactly brilliant, okay? I didn't have money for expensive toys. We just moved into this house weeks ago. The rent consumed nearly my entire paycheck. I got all the furniture from Free Cycle, we ate beans and rice frequently, and I was still driving a 20-year-old car.
Hide again,
Benjamin said, tugging my hand.
hide again.
But it's almost bedtime.
Please.
Okay, but only one more game. Go count in the kitchen. He ran around the corner as fast as his little legs could carry him. 1, 2. I raced through the living room and spotted it, the hall closet.
Perfect.
I opened the door and ducked inside. It was cramped, all those scratchy, musty old coats pressing against me, but it was worth it because the better the hiding spot, the more personal time I got. I pulled out my phone and started browsing Reddit. Soon his muffled footsteps echoed around the dining room. I waited a minute. When he didn't seem to be approaching my direction, I cracked the door.
Yoo-hoo. I called out. The footsteps grew louder.
I heard his muffled giggles as he walked toward me, and then he started climbing the stairs.
What an idiot.
I cracked the door open further just in time to see his little feet disappear up the landing.
I shrugged.
More time for me. I sat back down in the closet and pulled out the phone.
Mommy.
I heard him giggle from upstairs. Mommy, where are you?
I smiled.
I wonder if a mom invented hide and seek. It's quite brilliant. You get a few precious minutes away from your child, they're not even supposed to make much noise, and you're entertaining them simultaneously. Absolutely genius. Yoo-hoo. I stopped. Every muscle in my body froze. But I heard it clear as day, a soft, clear voice calling from upstairs. But Benjamin and I were home alone.
Oh God, someone's in the house.
And Benjamin. I burst out of the closet.
Benjamin.
Where are you? I heard Benjamin's footsteps running above me, his giggles trailing down to me.
I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Benjamin.
I finally screamed. More giggles and then Benjamin's voice. I see your feet.
No.
I catapulted up the steps, screaming for him. I burst into the bedroom and he wasn't there, just his empty rocket ship bed, comforter rumpled, embroidered stars staring back at me. I ran back into the hallway, spinning around.
Benjamin.
But I didn't hear any footsteps, any giggling. The house was dead silent now, and I could hear a pin drop. I ran into the guest bedroom.
Empty.
I ran over to the closet, threw it open, looked up and down.
Nothing.
Stumbling back out into the hallway, I crossed back toward my bedroom, the only bedroom left. I ran inside and flicked on the light.
Empty.
The pile of dirty laundry on the chair untouched, the wardrobe hanging open, my clothes inside, the pillows piled up on each other in a heap. Heart dropping, I ran around the other side of the bed.
Also empty.
I crouched to look under the bed.
Empty. Mommy. Mommy.
Relief flooded me as I heard that voice. The bathroom door opened a crack and one blue eye peered out at me, wide with terror. I ran over and grabbed him, hugged him, and then I hoisted him up and started out of the bathroom. His eyes were still wide with fear, and they weren't focused on my face but the spot just above my shoulder.
I whipped around.
It took me a moment to see it, but then I did. I stared at the wardrobe, frozen, my heart pounding in my ears. In the shadows, poking out from underneath the hems of my dresses and coats, were 2 feet. In moments like this, my brain doesn't really think, it's too slow.
Instinct reigns.
The smartest thing would have been to lock ourselves in the bathroom and climb out the window. But instead, I just ran for the hallway as fast as I could. As I ran down the stairs, I heard the weighted footsteps, slow and methodical, resonating through the house. I could still hear them pounding in my brain as I ran to the neighbors and screamed for help.
The police came. They searched the house.
They didn't find anything, no signs of forced entry either. So they promised me they'd patrol my street for the next few days, but that was all they could really do. I decided to stay at a friend's house for a few weeks until I felt safe again. But every time I closed my eyes, I could see them, those 2 feet that looked so wrong somehow. Swollen, as if waterlogged. A bit too grayish in tone to belong to any normal person. Toenails blackened and split. And I think back to that wardrobe, how I'd gotten it for free, how the owner told me his mother had just died and he was just trying to get rid of all her stuff as quickly as possible. And I wondered, how exactly did she die? The real monsters don't hide under beds. They wear familiar faces and live in your furniture. These aren't just stories, they're warnings about what's already among us. I have access to even more terrifying testimonies that will make these seem like children's tales. Subscribe if you dare to journey deeper into the darkness with me. Ring that notification bell because some horrors can't wait for scheduled uploads.
Sleep well tonight, if you can.